Hey guys, I'm LT.
And I'm Dan.
And welcome to BHK Outdoors, your beacon for all things outdoors. So grab a cup of coffee.
Or chaga.
And for the next 30 minutes, let's get out there. If you have any questions or show ideas for Dan and I, you can email us at radio@bhkoutdoors. That is radio@bhkoutdoors.com. Okay, today's program is brought to you by Blind Horse Knives, of course. American-made knives right here in Ohio. If you get an opportunity, check them out at blindhorseknives.com. Hey, Dan, today we have a guest, and I know I've talked to you about this person many times. Just about every Sunday morning before I go to church, I put on a pot of coffee and I sit down in front of YouTube and I watch this person shoot, and I have learned so much. It's incredible. And I know you thought I've had the opportunity. He goes by Hickok45. I've had the opportunity twice now to meet him in person, and actually, when he walked up at the NRA show, I was kind of like, "Oh my gosh, that's Hickok45!" And Dan looks at me like I'm half crazy, and I'm a little bit giddy because a little bit starstruck. It's like, I know it sounds weird, but every Sunday it's like I have coffee with this guy. So it was really interesting. So I know you think it's funny, Dan, but I'm tickled to death to get the opportunity to talk to him this morning.
But you're a grown man. Just say
care.
Hi to the guy.
I don't care. But we would like to welcome Hickok45 this morning. And how you doing, sir?
Just fine. Glad to be with you guys. Yeah, I'm glad y'all enjoy the show. I wish I could get that kind of fervor from the female audience, but maybe someday.
I'm sorry. You know what? Here's the funny thing is, you and I got a picture together, and you're taller than I am, and I got this picture, and I showed it to the guys, and the guys, you finally found someone taller than you that take a picture with. So I thought that was quite good.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. But remember this: women's is trouble, so that's trouble you may not want.
Oh, that's so true. But hey, Hickok, like I was telling him earlier, I honestly do this. Sunday morning, I get up, I make the coffee, and I go in there and I see what you got up new. And I think one of the reasons is your videos, you have, there's enough information in there to keep a person excited. If it's 10 to 20 minutes long, whether you're shooting or explaining something, I personally get a ton out of that, and I thank you for that. Could you maybe explain, talk to people a little bit? Well, first, let us know a little bit about yourself.
Well, the regular viewers know bits and pieces if they've seen a lot of the videos, but I know a lot of new people, and it's good to talk to folks up here in Ohio. I'm from northern Kentucky myself, and spent some time in southern Ohio and around, but. Well, I'm from Kentucky, of course, northern Kentucky, and moved to Tennessee when I graduated college, or actually in college, went to school down here most of my college career, and came down on basketball scholarship and ended up staying here. And I just love Tennessee as well as Kentucky. I just like the outdoors, like you guys.
Right.
Can't get away from that. I grew up part of my childhood on a 50-acre farm, and shooting and all that. So it's hard to forget that. And so my mission was to get some land and get back to the point where I could do that. But so anyway, I've lived here in Tennessee since I was about 18, 19, and have done various things. Taught school, 2 different incarnations of teaching back in the 70s, and then I was in business and traveling in the publishing industry for about 10 years, and came back to teaching, mainly when my son was born. When he was little, I wanted to get off the road, and I missed teaching. Mm-hmm. So I returned to that in around 1990, and have lived here in the Nashville area, since about 73. And we live on 40 acres out here in the woods. We're on the side of town that's probably the most primitive, the least developed. If you know anything about Nashville, it has grown like crazy, and still is. Mm-hmm. I wanted to get to the side of town that was the least developed.
So you mentioned that you grew up kind of shooting all of the time. About how old were you when you started shooting?
I was probably, when I shot my first gun, was 6, 7, some 8, maybe something like that. I don't have a vivid remember. I remember my dad having a 22 bolt action that I've shown in a video. It's an old Ward's Western field, very heavy, and we would take it out to the creek in the country while we were living more in the suburbia when I was that age, and we'd shoot. I had an uncle who was a gun nut. He was like me,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was fortunate. I had a kind of a Hickok45 uncle, and didn't get to spend a whole lot of time with him. He was killed in a tractor accident when I was about 16, but he was that uncle, that had the cabinet full of guns and everything, and we'd go out there and shoot sometimes on his place, and so I got the bug. You know how it is if you have the potential to get addicted to the outdoors or firearms, it doesn't take much, and those eyes get big, and there you are, you're hooked.
Oh, you
Yeah.
bet.
Looked at a lot of those folks myself.
Yeah, that's
So
kind of.
anyway, or pretty early on, and I've told this my radio shows when I was like 12, 13. I was fortunate to be able to walk around the 50-acre farm with a handgun, that Revelation 22 long rifle that my mother had bought my dad at Western Auto for Christmas present, and then the 22, and just roam around the farm and shoot. Just every boy's dream.
Oh yeah, that's kind of what I did when I was a younger man too. Seems like I started at like the age of 9. My family always jokes at me that everything in my life started at 9. But that's my earliest recollection that I can remember, taking a gun and heading into the field to hunt squirrels and stuff on my own.
Yeah.
So
There you go. Well, that's when it matters. That's the time of your life when it mattered, right? When you could go out and hunt and shoot. So the important part of your life, right?
and when you could go without supervision, you know what I mean? But today I don't know that
yeah.
there's too many 9-year-olds allowed to take a gun out of the house and go out there and hunt. So
Right.
Yeah.
I agree with that
sad.
completely. When did so you were an avid shooter and everything? What made you come up with the idea of doing a YouTube video and then creating a channel? How did that kind of come about?
Okay, well, I've always liked to shoot. I wasn't a shooting nut necessarily. I didn't always have just continual access. So I wasn't some Rob Latham youngster or something that was out with his dad. And I say that, I don't know if Rob's dad was a competitor, but I think he was involved in that competition stuff, like really young and just blowing thousands of rounds and all that. I was never like that. I just loved to get out and shoot, and would do it when I could. And when I got out of college, I started, getting the guns I wanted, a couple, 3 guns right away. So I always then found a range and would shoot. But the Hickok YouTube thing came about really as I had set up a YouTube account. Just everybody had one. I guess this was like 2006 or 7. I thought, well, let me set one up or register, and I did. And I had been using Hickok45 as a most common username recently, because I participate in forums and had for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I changed my forum name to Hickok45. I thought it was cool, because I had one other one that was a little confusing. And with no intention of ever being Hickok45 on YouTube. But when I registered there, I used that same name. And a buddy of mine were out here goofing around one time, and I just took some shots through the car. I thought YouTube was just for doing stupid stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess maybe it was more back then in 2007 or 8. And so we opened up the cars on my Element, the doors on my Element, and shot through it, and just hey, let's put that on YouTube, and I did. And it hung up there on YouTube for about a year. And I'd sent a link to my relatives or people, just, hey, look how crazy. I used to do crazy things like that. I've always been slightly crazy. I put all my guns in the dishwasher one day, probably around year 2000, I don't know, or most of them, the pistols, handguns. I stuck in the dishwasher with an old dirty skillet or two. I really put them in there very carefully, made sure the dishwasher was clean and dry, and even my Colt single actions and everything. I mean, I had all that stuff in there, the Glocks. It looked like, wow, that guy washing his guns in the dishwasher. And I took a picture of it. And I posted that on Glock Talk and different places for a while. Just my usual dry humor. So that's how I clean my guns. You guys ever tried this? It was funny because so many people thought it was real. I post that every couple of years just to recycle it.
Oh,
I've always been a little crazy.
So it's not
so
real.
Shooting through the car. What now?
So it's not real. You can't do that. Dang.
Yeah.
I
could for some of them. I don't think I do it with my Colt single action. Well, it depends on the detergent I get.
I was in. That's the way I was going to do it. I was going to clean them that way.
I think actually there are people who do that. Tell you the truth, with the right plan. But so the shooting through the car just seemed like, well, that's like they do on YouTube, stupid stuff, you know. And so we shot through the car. Nothing that took marksmanship skills, really, just opening up the doors and shooting through it and hitting the steel targets. And I thought it was just kind of a novel thing. But then to really get to your question, I teach, and we teach Shane. I teach the novel Shane, and I wanted to bring, here I am living on a shooting range, and I'd like to bring more realism to them about that and the guns they use and everything. So I didn't want to bring all those kids out to the range, teenagers, so couldn't really. So I just did a video standing there with a tripod with my, the lever guns and the Colt single action, and explained to them that this is like the gun Shane carried and everything, and some of the details of that. I shot like a cap and ball. I did 2 or 3 different versions of it, and now they took it into the room. We were teaching a high-tech school, the ceiling projectors, and they could put it on. So there I am on the wall, full wall of me with those guns, and pretty good resolution, and actually turning around and shooting them and seeing the black powder. So that's kind of a novel thing to do, for students.
Right.
And so I had all those guns, and I sent it to my son who was in college, John, at the time, and just to show him what I'd done. And then he suggested you ought to do something like that with your Glocks. I said, well, yeah, I might do that. So I did one with Glocks, 3 or 4 Glocks, and messed around. And he, in the meantime, had been surfing around YouTube, being 19 or 20, whatever he was. And he was watching gun videos. I never really did. I couldn't even tell you what was out there in terms of gun videos. And he told me that you need to put something on YouTube. There's just nothing out there but junk for the most part. And I don't know, maybe, So I just put up the tripod, did a couple of more serious educational videos with the Glocks. This is the Glock 19, here's what it does, that kind of thing, and put them up. And then I was surprised. People seemed to like it, because I didn't think they were necessarily all that great. I didn't understand why they liked them so much, to tell you the truth, because they were unedited. I couldn't even edit. I didn't know how to edit video.
Right.
I am turning the camera off, walking up and turning it off at the end of the video and that kind of thing. So turns out that was probably a good thing. I didn't know how to edit video, and it had to be real time. Just turn the camera on and turn it off when I'm finished. If I stumble, say something stupid, it's in there. And I posted some of those, and so that really turned out to be what people kind of like. So that's how we got started.
Well, I think you're exactly true, or exactly right about the about the unedited part, because what drew me to watching your videos when I first started was you would stand there and you would shoot a little while, and then you wouldn't take a break or anything. You'd just pull your earplugs out and you'd start reloading the gun or lay it on your table there and start talking about the features of it. And it was very real. It was like this regular guy telling us about guns that any person that's watching this video could go to their gun shop and buy. I mean, these weren't exotic weapons. One of my favorites ones was the one I spoke to you about, was when you did the guide gun, the 45-70 Marlin. And then you stood there and shot this thing with open sights way out there at your gongs and all these other things. And I was just like, you got to be kidding me. It was just, it was just amazing to me. So I think a lot of the viewership.
Fun with guns, yeah.
Absolutely.
I was having fun with them, and really the march. I never really meant to like get on YouTube and show what a great marksman I am, because there are a lot of people who can shoot better than I can. It's just I have shot a lot, and I shouldn't miss too often, or I shouldn't miss relatively easy shots very often, or even mid-range shots. I've never considered myself a precision shooter. That's kind of the irony. And a lot of people know me or kind of got hooked in from some of those 230-yard shots with the pistols and some weird things like that. And even though I've always enjoyed doing that occasionally, that's never been my first love. I just like to get the guns and go bang steel and, and play. And it takes too much concentration. The bench rest shooting and all that kind of thing, I've never had an interest in that at all. And there are some people, and like that said, new shooters, young people probably, they go to the channel and they, sometimes it's like, wow, this guy's God with a gun or something, And really I'm not. There are a lot of guys and gals who, and you all know that, who shoot really, really well. I just have fun doing it, and I do enjoy showing that with almost all these guns, whatever kind of sights you have, you can make some reasonably, impressive or, longer shots with them if you just, hold your sights on target and get a good trigger break, though.
Right.
Because I get weary. I'm sure you all do, too. You hear people, this gun's not accurate. Nah, you can't hit anything with that short barrel and that sort of thing. So
right.
that was one of my early missions, to dispel some of those myths, and that's really what I was going for by trying to hit things at longer range, with them. But the unedited thing really has turned out to be, kind of a blessing in disguise. I didn't realize that. Although, ironically, too, John, my son, he's great at editing. If you look at those rapid-fire videos and the behind-the-scenes and the different things that he's done, well, the behind-the-scenes is not necessarily, I guess the editing skills are not as important as just what he pulls out to embarrass me with, some of that. But,
that's great.
The rapid-fire stuff, he's really good at editing that and doing little quick clips and kind of making those things kind of a high-energy, exciting sort of thing. But he doesn't get to do that very often. Mm-hmm. And he knows, that what we do is best, because it's just what people seem to like. So.
Yeah, one of the things I'd like to ask you is how much practice do you actually do when you're shooting to get as good as you are?
How much competition have I done, or how much do I do?
Just how many times do you shoot a gun a week or a day or whatever? I mean, how often do you shoot?
Oh, well, since we started doing the videos, especially over the last couple of years, I don't really shoot much outside the videos. I shoot some. We're going to shoot some today. We've got some folks coming. In fact, some other YouTubers, guys down from Wisconsin, KGB 65, is on a trip down here with his son. So we're going to do some shooting. He's been a loyal viewer since we started, I think. So he's going to come by the compound here around noon. We're going to eat some pizza and do a little shooting, which will be fun. But and 10 Outdoors 9's coming over. But we and maybe 22 Plankster, we're going to have a little mini YouTuber gathering here, I think, today. And boy, I don't know if we'll do a video or not. But I shoot so much in the videos, especially when I'm off here in the summer, that I don't shoot a lot of rounds. To answer your question, I maybe just prowl around the farm with a favorite pistol and take a few shots, or try out a gun, or just pull a gun out that I need to test a little more, like the SR-22. I haven't shot that a lot since the first video. I might just shoot that some today. And I really get I get a lot of shooting in, and I don't necessarily shoot every single day.
So you're going
I don't want to overdo it.
So are you going to shoot pepperonis on pizzas today?
I'm sorry, do what now?
I said, are you going to shoot the pepperonis off the pizza today?
Oh, yeah, maybe so. The other day we got one a little burnt. Maybe we'll do that, put it out there on there. Anything is a potential target around the compound, that's for sure.
Well, hang one up and shoot a couple pepperonis for me.
Yeah. I know.
My wife has learned that. My wife has a pot or an empty container of some sort. She knows to just leave it out here and set it out by the porch.
Oh yeah, I know. I've seen some of the stuff you shot. The new video, the Bumsky, when you were shooting up a car door. I've seen you shoot watermelons. I think pumpkins, bowling pins. So as far as targets goes, you have a bunch of different things, but you also have a lot of metal type targets too. Did you buy them? Did you make them? And maybe just kind of give an idea of what kind of targets, if you're setting up your own range at your property or something for someone out there that might be listening, what are the targets that you do use?
Well, I bought some. I had them made, the animal targets, about 26 years ago when I moved to this location. I found a guy here locally, a welder, and he was just kind of a handyman, do it all, and I gave him the diagrams on those, and most of those are basic official IHMSA size animal targets, and just had him cut those out, and I've been shooting those forever. And then many of the circles, the discs that I have, I purchased in the last 8 to 10 years or more, 8 to 10 years, I guess, where the hanging targets and things. A lot of those are hardened steel that I've gotten from now you can go online and get that sort of thing at many different places that where you can shoot anything at it. Even a high-powered rifle, if you're at 70 or 100, they recommend 150 yards, I think, that we fudge a little bit on that, as long as it's a safe distance. If it destroys it in a year or two, so what? I have a red plate out there that's hardened steel AR 500. We shoot it with everything. I've got tires around it to protect the shrapnel, and if it only lasts a year, I don't care. But it's holding up pretty well. But they do recommend a little bit more distance on those. And so I've added to it gradually over the years. The swinging 5 plates you see there, I had a guy make that for me way back before I started doing any of this, about 84, 85. I just kind of had the idea in my head, and he was a welder too, an old shooting buddy. He made that for me, so I've had that for a long time. It's there at the main range. But now what I tell people too, though, you don't have to have this many targets. This has just sort of grown because I've been here. It's kind of like your barn, your garage. It just gradually fills up. We probably have too many targets. And a few people have sent a couple. Like Action Target gave me like a half-price discount on the shooting tree and some things like that. But most of them I've just bought. You can take, and in my range tour videos I kind of show this. Those discs. What I would recommend to someone, if they've got a place of woods to go shoot and they just wish they could shoot steel like that or had a range like this, what I would do if I lost the farm tomorrow, I would buy 5 of those plates, maybe different sizes or something, those hardened plates, and I would get 5 or 6 of those shepherd's hooks at Walmart or somewhere, like I have and use, because they already come cut with a hole, perfect size, and you can just throw those in the trunk and go anywhere where it's okay to do that and shoot, which is not your local range maybe, but someone's got a farm or someplace, you can just go stick those in the ground in about 3 minutes, hang those on them, move them around, and have a lot of fun shooting steel. It's really not that complicated. You don't need 49 targets like I do. It just sort of evolved that way.
Well, I'm a little curious because you're talking about a hardened steel. Can you explain exactly what you're talking about there, a hardened steel? How hard is it, or
Well, yeah, I'm not a metallurgist, that's for sure. I don't even pretend to be one, but if you go to any of the target makers' websites, they will give you the hardness of the steel. And they'll sometimes offer an 8-inch plate or a 12-inch plate, whatever, in various hardnesses, and of course the price increases. And as it gets up to, I'm not sure what armor plate, quote unquote, is A500, AR500, or whatever it is. But the 500 seems to be, or 550, the most popular, I think, if you want hardened steel. And it may run a 12-inch plate or a 15-inch plate that's 3/8 inch thick. Might run, I don't know, $80, $100, $125. I don't know what it's running at. I ain't bought any lately, which sounds expensive, but that sucker will outlast you. I mean, maybe really, you almost can't hurt them unless you just put them closer than you should and shoot at them with a 300 Win mag or something.
Well, that's pretty
you
cool.
Go there, you look at my targets, and that red plate that I shoot at, I've hit it with so many AK rounds, 308 rounds, and area 223 rounds for a good while now. I guess, 8 months or a year, time gets away. I could go there and show you that. It's just got the very smallest little dimples. And you could fry an egg on that thing, basically, and scrape it off with a skid. I mean, it's still in really good shape.
Yeah, so that steel is definitely a good investment for long-term shooting. I have a friend that does exactly like you spoke of with the shepherd's hooks and the hardened steel, and I've shot that a few times. It is a great system. There is nothing like hearing it hit the steel to enjoy a day of shooting.
Yeah, and all the shrapnel goes downward or outward, especially where it's swinging. That's always safer, too. And the hardened steel it's safer, too. If you can afford it, it is safer because as you get dimples in that steel, then you have the possibility of, things coming back at you. And you want flat steel. That's the main thing. Anybody setting up a range, by all means, flat surface, no edges on it. I started out on this range. When I moved out here, I had someone make me some plates, 8-inch plates on a stand. I had shot some of those in matches, and you had to watch it. You could get shrapnel back on those, and I was getting stuff back, so I had someone make me some. I designed some like a lollipop, a longer stem on them, same plate, and the stand pedestal was down, maybe 4 or 5 inches from the actual circular plate. And that was better, but still, if you bullet got down there low on the stem, then it would come, ricochet, or it would splatter and hit the pedestal, and some of it could come back occasionally. Oh. So it's just a world of difference between having a plate hanging versus standing on a pedestal. Just a world of difference. I just never I mean, virtually never get anything back. Because, you know, so everything I shoot at out here is flat, and it's either swinging or there's nothing for the steel to catch on the edge, you know, to get hurt. You get a lot of questions about that, too. And it's a valid question. If you're going to shoot steel, do it at your own risk, of course. I was at a match, this was pre-IPSC days, where we were shooting some steel, and it was kind of a redneck setup, and they had some crazy steel, different things, and a piece of lead came back and caught a bystander. Wouldn't you know, he wasn't even shooting, and caught him in the cheek, and he had a bad cut. They took him to the emergency room. He was okay, but he was bleeding like the proverbial stuck hog. You know, it was kind of scary. The only time I ever saw that happen. But the steel we were shooting at had some really edges, and it was all kinds of wild stuff. You just want a flat surface.
Yeah, so you got to be careful. You were talking earlier about handguns. Can you tell us quickly kind of what your favorite handgun is?
Man, that's a tough one. That's like, who's your favorite child? You know, it really is. I have a lot of affection for the old single actions. You know, because I grew up watching westerns, and you know, I still watch Gunsmoke most mornings, an episode. You know, when I'm off. You know, I just love it. And then, but I also grew up in my shooting career. One of my first centerfire pistol revolver was a Blackhawk, Super Blackhawk in 45 Colt. But then very soon after that, my first double action revolver was a Smith & Wesson Model 19, and I fell in love with double action revolvers. At that time, I couldn't afford a Colt or, you know, I had a Blackhawk, which was nice. But then I got kind of into the Smith & Wesson double action revolvers and more or less collected them. You know, I got the 44 Smith that you see in the videos occasionally, 8 3/8-inch barrel I've had forever. And I just shot the heck out of those for years and years. So those always have a special place in my heart. I'm thinking of getting one out today when these outlaws show up. Maybe the big 8 3/8 44, and or a 3-inch. I don't know, or both. I just really enjoy those. And then again, you know, I love a great semi-automatic like the Glock, or you know, especially the Glock. But
right.
I've shot them the most. But you know, they're just fun. I was down at somebody's range yesterday and pulled out someone had a Glock 23 and a Glock 19, and I mean, those things are just fun. I didn't even touch those guns, you know, and they shoot just as well as mine. I mean, I could walk into somebody's gun room and just grab their Glock, whatever, 20, and it's the same with a SIG or a H&K or whatever your favorite is. You just go hunting with it, you know it's going to work and it's going to shoot where it's pointed, you know. So those are fun.
Oh, yeah. Dan and I both have Glock 23s, and we shoot them, and man, that's just really one of my favorite handguns of all time. I mean, it just, hands down, is just, like you said, you just pull it out, put the bullets in, and shoot it, and it will shoot all day long.
Yeah, it's just a do-it-all gun. I used to, speaking of competition, I used to, in IPSC, I played a little bit with with a compensated 1911 for about a year just for kicks, but mostly I was using my carry guns, and I shot a Glock 23 a lot of times. Mm-hmm. And this was before the Glock 23 was popular, and people were really surprised that the thing would shoot so well. But now that secret's out there, and they're just all they're very popular.
Yeah, they're fantastic. Guys, if you want to get a lot of information from a very good guy, check out Hickok45 on YouTube, and it's spelled Hickok. So it's Hickok45. Brought me a lot of joy over the years, and I thank you very much for being with us today. We're almost completely out of time. Love to have you back in the near future, because I'd love to talk about cleaning guns and some other stuff if we can. So guys, again, that's Hickok45. It's well worth checking out the videos. You're going to enjoy them. If you're into guns, absolutely check it out. So we want to thank Hickok45 for being with us today. And for the very latest, be sure to like our BHK Outdoors Facebook page, or you can follow us on Twitter. If you have any questions for Dan and myself, you can catch us at radio@bhkoutdoors.com. Thank you all for being with us today. Remember to join us right here next Saturday morning for BHK Outdoors, your beacon for all things outdoors. Thanks to our producer, Mike Henniger, and until then, I am LT.
And I'm Dan.
And may God bless all of you.